Welcome to this platform. So let us look at the homeostasis. What is homeostasis? So homeostasis is simply the maintenance of a constant internal environment. That is how you define homeostasis. So homeostasis is simply the maintenance of a constant internal environment. Now, this homeostasis, or what does it involve? So you can say homeostasis involve thermoregulation, osmoregulation, and excretion. What is thermoregulation? So thermoregulation is temperature. Now, since we are saying it's the maintenance of a constant internal environment, so therefore, thermoregulation is simply the maintenance of a constant body temperature. So the maintenance of a constant body temperature is what we call thermoregulation. So under this topic, we get to look at how the body temperature is maintained. All right. Then osmoregulation, osmo come from body fluid or water. So is that the water balance? So when you talk of osmoregulation, we are simply looking at the regulation of the body temperature. I mean the regulation of the amount of water in the body fluid. I guess you've gotten that amendment. So osmoregulation is just a regulation of the amount of water in the body fluid. Then when you talk of excretion, we know already that it's just the removal of toxic metabolic waste from the body. That is what we call excretion. So as we look at this homeostasis, these will be our main area of focus. Now, let us start with thermoregulation. As we've already said that this is simply the maintenance of uh, the constant body temperature. Okay, we said thermoregulation is the maintenance of constant body temperature. Now, what is the normal body temperature in humans? So, for the normal body temperature in humans is 37 degrees Celsius. Now, what happened temperature beyond 37 degrees? Now, remember, to answer this question, you need to know that in the body, there are enzymes that work, carry out metabolic reactions or speed up metabolic reactions. And they work well at a certain temperature called optimum temperature, where they have maximum activity. So what happened beyond the 7 degree is that the enzyme or the body enzymes which have the optimum temperature of the 7 degree might be denatured, okay? Might be denatured, hence unable to carry out their function. Then below the body temperature, the enzymes will be inactive, will not be active. So, which means also they will be not able to carry out the reactions effectively. So, that is the danger of having the temperature might be beyond or below the 7 degree. And therefore, the body need to maintain the temperature at 37 degree Celsius. Now, the other question that we need to answer here is that how is the same body temperature generated, or how is the heat generated in the body? So the heat is generated by the metabolic reactions that occurs in the liver and also the muscles. Okay, it can be through shivering or exercising. So that is how heat is generated. And this heat is distributed to all parts of the body, is carried by blood and distributed to all parts of the body. Otherwise, this is the area of generation of the heat. Okay, and we are saying it's generated by the metabolic reactions in the liver and also through shivering, that is in the muscles. Okay, now, how is heat lost? So quite a number of processes by which heat is lost, but some of them are expiration, egestion, excretion, and sweating. Okay, so these are some of the processes by which heat is lost from the body. It can also be through conduction, but please, yeah, these are some of them, quite a number of them. So you need to know even those or even some more on this one. Very important. Okay, let us proceed now to look at, since we are saying, or maintenance, we are looking at the maintenance of heat or thermoregulation. Under this one, the organ that helps in the maintenance or regulation of the body temperature is the skin. So we are saying regulation of the body temperature is mainly carried out by the skin, and of course under the control of the hypothalamus, which is found in the brain. Okay, so heat regulation is carried out by the skin and under the control of the hypothalamus, which is found in the brain. Now, to look at how the skin does it, very important to look at the structure of the skin. So, this that you are able to see here is the structure of the skin. So, this is the structure of the skin. Now, what are the things that you need to know as you prepare for exams? So, very important that you know the parts, okay, of the skin. Now, the skin is made up of 3 layers. We have the first one, which is called the epidermis. We have the second one, which is called the dermis. We have the third one, which is called the hypodermis. Very important to know the structures or the parts that are found in each and every layer. Let us start with the epidermis. So the epidermis simply means the upper or the top part of the skin. Okay, so this first part is made up of 3 sections, as you can see. The first one called conified layer, or is made up of 3 layers. The first one is made up of 3 layers: the conified layer, the granular layer, and Malpighian layer. Okay, so these are the layers that makes up the epidermis. And in the epidermis also you find the pores, the duct. Okay, I think these are the ones that we can look at. Let us proceed to look at the dermis. So the dermis, I think it quite has a lot of parts here. So starting from the right here, we have the superficial blood vessel. And pay attention to this part, because as we look at how the heat temperature is maintained at different conditions, we'll be able to look at this. Then we have the Shanti vessel. Then we have the sweat gland. These parts, very important to know them. Then we have the elector muscle. We have the adipose tissue. Oh, no, the adipose tissue is at the bottom here. So the adipose tissue is not part, please. We have the hair follicle. We have the sebaceous gland, and we have the nerves. So these make up the middle layer, which is the dermis. So these that I've circled here, including the elector muscle and also the sweat gland. Okay, what about the last part, which is the hypodermis, the deeper part of the skin? Okay, so this is made up of the adipose tissue, and all these are very important at all stages as we discuss. Now, I said this structure, you need to know it. Having looked at this, and I'm sure given this structure, especially in paper 1, you might be given, let's say this part is X, then this part is Y. Let's say you are given what are the functions of X and Y. This is the elector muscle, and that is the sweat gland. You know that the sweat gland produces sweat. And as we look at temperature maintenance, you see the importance of the sweat gland. The hair elector muscle can contract or relax, and of course that to see how it helps in pulling the hair. Okay, so this hole is the hair, and this plays an important role in temperature maintenance. Then also the shunt vessels, you need to know how they work. The superficial vessels, very important. Let us focus now on mechanism of thermoregulation by the skin. How is temperature maintained by the skin? Let us look at the first condition that we have here, that is in the cold temperature. What happened in the cold temperature? Now, as we look at the cold temperature, we know that when it is cold, the body will act in a way to do what? Or the skin will act in a way to do what? To make the skin warm, or to prevent the loss of heat. Okay, hence keeping the skin what? Keeping the skin or keeping the body warm. Now, in the cold temperature, we are saying the skin reduces the heat loss by the following or in the following ways. So how does it do it? So we have elector muscle a bit here. We have this elector muscle. So what happened to the elector muscle during the cold temperature? So the elector muscles contract. Okay, so when they contract, they pull the hair. Okay, they pull this hair and make it to stand. Okay, so pulling the hair upright. Now, what is the importance of the hair being upright? So the electric hair traps the layer of air. And now you know that air is a bad conductor. So the layer of air that is trapped insulates the skin against heat loss. So that is how the elector muscle work in order to conserve the heat or in order to prevent the loss of heat. So the elector muscle contract, pulling the hair upright. The elector hair traps the layer of air which insulate the skin against heat loss. Aside from that, there is vasoconstriction. Now, when you talk of the vasoconstriction, this is just a narrowing of arterioles. Now, what happened? So when there's vasoconstriction, this reduces the amount of blood passing through the skin. Look at this. Let's say this is the arteriole. Now, this has the rumen. So vasoconstriction is just reducing the size of this rumen so that blood cannot pass near the skin. So it occurs to reduce the amount of blood passing through the skin. And this reduces heat loss. So vasoconstriction, one way to reduce heat loss. Then shunt vessels. Now, when you talk of the shunt vessels, we are looking at this. Look at this. We have the superficial vessels on top right there. Then we have the shunt vessels. So what happened is that the shunt vessel open so that blood cannot go beyond here and passes through the superficial vessel. So it just passes beneath the skin there. So the shunt vessels open to reduce the amount of blood passing through the superficial vessel near the skin. The superficial vessel are near the skin. So when the blood passes through the superficial vessel, it might lose heat. So it passes through the shunt vessels. Okay, so the shunt vessels opens, reducing the amount of blood passing through the superficial vessel near the skin. And this reduces heat loss, okay, because the blood is not able to pass through near the skin. When the blood passes near the skin, it might, heat might be lost, from the blood. Then what is the other one? The sweat gland becomes less active. Now, like I said, the sweat gland produces sweat. So when they are less active, which means they're not producing much sweat. Now, the sweat from the body carries with it heat. So when the sweat gland become less active, which means no sweat at all, or less sweat is produced. And this minimizes loss of heat, which might occur through sweating. So sweat gland become less active. And all this is in a cold temperature. So now, I'm sure you are clear up to this point. Okay? So I'm sure you are clear up to this point. And if you are clear, please, to appreciate that, you can just maybe hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that we continue enjoying such lessons. Otherwise, let us proceed to look at now what happened in the hot temperature. So still looking at maintenance or mechanism of thermoregulation. So when it is hot or in the hot temperature, the skin promote loss of heat in the body. When it is hot, the body need to lose heat. And of course, the skin promote the loss of heat in the following ways. So this time around, the elector muscle relaxes. Remember, in the cold, the elector muscles contract. So this time around, the elector muscle relax. And when the elector muscle relax, there's no pulling of the hair. So the hair lies on the skin. So the elector muscle relax, causing the hair to lie on the skin. What is the importance of this? So this increases the heat loss from the body by conduction, since no layer of still air to insulate the skin. So no layer of still air on the skin to insulate the skin from losing heat. Therefore, there's loss of heat. So elector muscles relax, causing hair to lie on the skin. This increases heat loss from the body by conduction, and no layer of still air forms, or because no layer of still air forms. The other way is vasodilation. So vasodilation, let's say the lumen of the arterioles like that. Vasodilation, which means it increases in size, and this causes amount of, or increases the amount of blood passing through the skin, and heat can be lost to conduction. So this allows more heat to be lost by conduction. So that is how vasodilation promotes the loss of heat from the body when it is too hot. Then the shunt vessels this time around are the ones that opens. We say the shunt vessels are the ones that are on top. Okay, we had we have the superficial vessel down here. The shunt vessels are here near the skin. Okay, so the shunt vessels open or close. Okay, the shunt vessel close, please. So these are shunt vessels. Okay, if I've made a mistake when explaining, let us make some amendment. So the shunt vessel close, which means the blood will pass through the superficial vessel. So when the shunt vessel closes, the blood passes through the superficial vessel, which are near the skin, and this promotes the loss of heat through conduction. So please make that amendment. All right, let us look at now the sweat gland. So this time around, the sweat gland becomes more active, and this promotes loss of heat by conduction. Now, how does it happen? So when they become more active, produces more sweat, the sweat absorbs the heat from the body, and when it evaporates, it carries with it heat. Okay, so when you sweat, when the sweat dries, I'm sure you experience that coolness, and it is because the heat has left your body, okay, has been lost. So that is how this promote the loss of heat. All right, I guess you've understood on the mechanism of thermoregulation. What are the questions that you expect? So question in an exam, you might find explain the mechanism of thermoregulation in a cold temperature. So what I've explained, that is what you need to write. Then if you say in the hot temperature, what I'm just from explaining, that you need to write. But if it's in the essay questions, you need to make sure that you just write a paragraph. No bulleting, no numbering or whatsoever. Instead, you are encouraged to look at or to write in paragraph. So each of these parts should be a paragraph full. Right. Let us shift our attention to now blood sugar regulation. How is a blood sugar level regulated in the body? Now, when we refer to blood sugar, we are referring to glucose as sugar. So we focus on glucose. How is the sugar level regulated in the body? To regulate, which means to be kept at a normal level. Okay, so how is that done? So the maintenance of blood sugar level in the blood is carried out by the pancreas. So the pancreas carry out blood sugar level. And this is, the pancreas has two cells. Okay, so it has two cells. How it does it? It has two cells, otherwise known as islet of Langerhans. These two cells produces, or these two cells are, one, the beta cell and alpha cell. So what you're saying here is that maintenance of a constant glucose level is carried out by the pancreas. The pancreas releases the cells otherwise known as the islet of Langerhans, and the islet of Langerhans cells are the beta cell and the alpha cell. Now, each of these secrete a certain hormone that helps in the regulation of blood sugar level. So let us look at the alpha cells. So for the alpha cells secrete what we call glucagon. The beta cells secrete what we call insulin. I'm sure this is popular. We know insulin. Now, let us look at also two conditions. When there's high glucose level in the blood, or when there's high sugar level in the blood, how does the pancreas respond, or how does it regulate the sugar level? We said it has to be maintained at a normal level. So now, when there's high sugar level in the blood, the pancreas secrete insulin, okay, through the beta cell. So secrete what? Insulin. Now, the insulin lowers the glucose level, okay, bring it to the normal level. How does it do it? So it causes the cell of the liver and the muscles to convert the excess or to convert the glucose into what? Glycogen. So glycogen is a storage form of glucose, okay? And this is, it's a storage form of glucose. So causes the cell of the liver to convert the excess glucose to glycogen, which is just the storage form. Now, one thing that you should know is that the liver is only able to store, the liver is only, so the body can only store about 400 gram of glycogen, okay? So 400 gram of glycogen is stored in the liver and the muscles. Okay, since we are saying this is stored in the muscles and the liver. Now, what are the proportion? So 100 gram is stored in the liver, 100 gram is stored in the liver, then 300 gram is stored in the what? In the muscles. 300 grams is stored in the muscles. I hope you've gotten this thing. So it causes the liver and the muscle to convert excess glucose to glycogen, of which the body can store 400 gram of glucose, which 100 gram stored in the liver, then 300 gram is stored in the muscles. Now, if you still have excess glucose in the blood, the insulin causes the cell of the adipose tissue to convert glucose or sugar, excess glucose, to fats, and they are stored under the skin and also around the delicate organs such as the heart, the intestines, etc., etc. Then causes the body cell to absorb and use the glucose. So some of the glucose is used by the body during the process of respiration. So that is how the body responds to high glucose level in the blood. And of course, lack of insulin to do that, that is the one that results into the presence of glucose into the blood. And this is called diabetes. Okay, let us look at how the low glucose level now is maintained or is brought back to the normal level. So under this one, the pancreas releases the hormone called the glucagon. Now, this one increases the sugar level in the blood, and of course, in the following way, causes the cell of the liver this time around and the muscle to convert back the glycogen to glucose. Then, of course, causes the fats to be converted to glucose. So these are the ways in which low glucose level is brought to normal. Otherwise, this is what you need to know about homeostasis, and also have a look at negative feedback mechanism. Okay, under this one, have a look at negative feedback mechanism. Might be an important process. Otherwise, we can end here. And thank you for staying up to this point. If you've not subscribed up to this point, please consider doing so. Make sure that you help by sharing so that we can reach as many audience as we can. It's a motivation for us to keep moving. Okay, so if you are interested in the online lessons, that is full-time learning or just one revision for those that are writing in a month to come, those that are writing IGCSE, Cambridge also. So if you are interested in the online lessons, you can contact the number 0976 402563. Also, if you stay in Kabwata, we are found there. That is where our physical location is. So if you want to join us for physical lessons, you can still get in touch on the number. Otherwise, see you in the next one.